Welcome back to our next session, Cryptocurrencies for Africa. I think our last session was with Twitter, who have just endorsed a lot of cryptocurrencies. So I think cryptocurrencies for Africa, very topical right now. We saw an announcement yesterday from PayPal. And with this, we look forward to a really good panel ahead. So I would like to introduce Rosalind Wanjiru, who will take it away.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be part of this panel and to join in with my co-panelists. Before we get into this discussion, I'll invite each of the panelists just to briefly introduce themselves and what they do. We'll begin with Brett now. Sorry, Brett, you're on mute.
Thank you, Rosie, for having me. Thank you to the team for having me this year again. My name is Brighton Yantika. I represent the Capital Markets Authority of Kenya. I undertake strategy and policy research on matters fintech, crypto assets, among other capital markets development matters. I'm just really glad to be here and to also share my voice on this very topical discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's have Akin taking it away. Please unmute.
Yeah, Akin Sawyer. I run Settlement, which is a consultancy that's focused on fintech and cryptocurrencies. So over the last 5 years, I've been working in areas like remittances, cryptocurrency governance. Recently, I was the lead for Africa for Decred, which is a centralized currency. So we spend a lot of time in the cryptocurrency space broadly, particularly around financial applications, decentralized finance.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm Rosalind Wanjiru. I've worked as an economist and particularly interested in the blockchain space the last 3 years. I am currently the Director of Growth and User Acquisitions at Pesabase. And Pesabase is a peer-to-peer remittance and payment service. We are based in Kenya, but looking to grow within the African market. Cryptocurrencies are a very interesting topic for me, particularly not just as an economist, but as a what you'd call a millennial in Africa, because I've seen people talking about being able to bypass so many challenges we've had structurally, being able to embrace new avenues of trade, embrace new avenues of sharing value across the continent, and not just within finance, but all these other use cases that are connected to different cryptocurrency projects. So we have quite a number of questions around the future of work, the future of value, the future of finance, and it sounds also futuristic, but I would like to ask each one of my panelists, what do you feel is the key value proposition of cryptocurrencies as it is right now, not just for Africa, but really around the world? Begin with Bretna.
Thank you very much. I think if I could take it straight on is now looking across Africa, one of the things that really remains outstanding is the level of financial inclusion. So I'd pick Kenya, for example. Kenya stands at over 89% of the citizens having access to financial product, but still the level of engagement is still low. The number of bank accounts, for example, are still low. You have in a population of over 50 million, you have close to less than only 10 million, over less than 10 million people who have access to either M-Pesa or the formal banking system. So there remains a case, and that is the same case that is replicated in South Africa, in Rwanda, where you have a majority of the population which is still unbanked or which does not have access to financial services. So there remains a very strong case for financial inclusion, which in my view would be best be served by the unique advantages that now the adoption of crypto would actually help out, mostly in the payments space, where you have people who are financially excluded from the economy on the basis of them not actually having access to any payment mode. So in my view, I think financial inclusion ranks top of the key areas where I see there's that kind of interest. Thank you.
Akin, please unmute, share your views.
Yeah, I'm here. I think my camera is sort of slowing down my connection, so I'll kind of just talk for now, and maybe I'll come back on the camera if the streaming service improves. What was the question again?
What do you feel is the best value proposition for cryptocurrencies on the continent?
Yeah, sure. So I kind of agree with Brighton. I think that financial inclusion is certainly a key and very important application. Most of Africa is pretty much engaged in the formal economy and is unbanked, underbanked, and we're seeing that cryptocurrencies are used for cross-border settlement, for international trade settlement, often because lots of local business people don't have access to foreign exchange or currency, or they live in countries where you have very strong foreign currency control. So financial applications certainly are, I think, a really important initial application. We're seeing that across the world too. Even in developed markets, we're seeing a lot of centralized finance applications gaining steam.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Your audio is really breaking up. I'm trying to see how we can resolve that, but allow me to just move to the next question as we try to just get you sorted out. Redden, please address in the simplest definition, maybe for our audience, for someone who's hearing about cryptocurrencies for the first time. What would you define a cryptocurrency as, just to make it simple for our audience? Please unmute.
Thanks for that. For me to actually now delineate first, I think it would be best for me to actually now use the term crypto assets rather than digital assets, because now other digital assets you have images also which images or anything in digital form or in a digital representation that can be saved. So that would be termed as a digital asset. I would look at this from the umbrella term crypto assets. So the use of cryptographic means to generate digital assets. So under crypto assets, you have the likes of security assets, like the tokens, security tokens. So you have most crypto securities. So these are crypto assets, but which mimic traditional securities. So they have the rights akin to shares and bonds. And then you have cryptocurrencies. Now this function mainly to enable the sharing of value. They have a very strong payments case. And then lastly, you have utility coins. So there's a form of crypto assets which actually enable users to actually utilize a particular service. But then all these kinds of crypto assets forms of crypto assets can be combined in different formations. So you may have a crypto asset that has features of a security and also payment features. So there also now hybrid kinds of forms of crypto assets. So specifically, I look at cryptocurrencies in terms of the crypto assets used for payments, or mostly those which are applied in payments. And that really is a definition that I would have for our engagement today.
All right, thank you so much. I actually appreciate that clarity, because I think for a lot of people, they really wonder what to attach in terms of the value of cryptocurrencies. Should they call them digital currencies? Should they call them, just by any other name that they can understand? Should they call them tokens? But basically, they're platforms. They are, tools that allow us to share value securely. So, Akin, please tell us what, in your view, do you feel is one of the hugest challenges to adoption of cryptocurrencies, not just in Africa, but really around the world, because we have such a niche community that is talking about cryptocurrency or pushing for that. Because whether you talk about it from a regulator's point of view or wider adoption, but I don't think we've crossed the 100 million user threshold. So, what do you think are some of the challenges to the widespread adoption of cryptocurrencies?
I think the primary barrier is really education, right? So I think that a lot of countries, a lot of regulators are grappling with trying to really understand what the ramifications of cryptocurrencies are, right? How's it going to affect their ability to regulate the markets? How's it going to affect the ability for them to be able to surveil, right, and make sure you don't have fraudulent users? How's it going to impact incumbents, right, that operate in those markets? So I think there's just a big education gap and a lack of understanding, not just in Africa, but across the world. So I think education is really the primary first step. And then right next to that is regulation, right? Because in many countries, you either have getting to pause.
Sorry to interrupt, and
Can you hear me?
we keep losing your audio. It's quite problematic. Sorry about that. I think Bretna, you can take us through this. What do you feel are some of the challenges, just building on what Akin has mentioned in terms of the education gap? What do you feel are some of the challenges to the adoption of cryptocurrencies on the continent?
I think, really, just to reinforce Akin's point in regards to what we face as Africa as a continent is the low level of crypto literacy on the continent. And really, this is, of course, there are other underlying institutional gaps that are already there. For example, we have had banks for all this time, but not even really would understand if you ask an ordinary Kenyan, ordinary Rwandan, what a current account or a checking account would be. So first of all, there is a prevailing low level of financial literacy in this side of the world. And so now built to it, the issue now of crypto coming and the application of blockchain. So that more or less brings up that lag, that education lag that we have. So we have a huge, there's huge opportunity also now that presented by that challenge in terms of now the builders of this crypto ecosystem in Africa to actually now design very good targeted crypto literacy sessions as they embark on actually now sharing this with the public. And I'm sure, as we speak as an authority, we continuously engage both our market participants through our various forums on matters crypto. We have issued notices to the public, trying to define what are these crypto assets. And also now we've also, on the same breath, issued notices to the public delineating the key risks associated with these products. So this is that shows you that there's much that can be done, and especially now by regulators to actually now plug into that particular role of crypto literacy. And just to close it up, it's when I was so some of these issues, and you wouldn't really then also blame that the issue of literacy on even as the practitioners, in this space. What you have is, as we speak, even us as practitioners, even innovators or technologists, is that there is still an evolution in terms of the terminology in use. So other countries, for example, is giving that example of other countries using crypto assets, the other countries using the term crypto assets. So there's that evolution in the terminology used. So for example, in a strict sense, what we would refer to a digital asset, is anything that can be stored digitally. And then now, so because now under digital assets, you have, your images on your phone, for example, which we would then encapsulate within, it can be images, your photos, your videos, which are stored digitally, which are also your assets, right? Private assets. And so now crypto assets then will be a different type of a digital asset, with the key distinction then being on the application of cryptography to generate them, and also in regards to the different economic functions. So I think also, so it's an issue of, for us as also practitioners in the market, for you innovators, that we also part of this global conversation. So that brings out the complexity. But now having clearly delineating the different types of crypto assets, giving out that distinction between crypto assets and digital assets, which we have tried to labor out, I think is very key also to bring clarity to these issues to our stakeholders. Thank you, Rosie.
All right, allow me to just build on that a little bit more by asking you, as the Capital Markets Authority, the Sandbox was launched as a project, I think, 2018, 2019, and it was an invitation for innovative projects which could leverage blockchain technology to just offer mature or products that are very well targeted and developed for capital markets. What would you say are some of the milestones that you've seen with such a platform, and what would you say is the role of Sandbox policies or frameworks in so to speak, guiding and creating a framework for countries to boost or to make it easier for projects to launch or leverage or build on blockchain around the world?
Thank you very much. And just to note that when you look through Sandbox launched last year in March, what you have as you speak, as I shared yesterday, is you have half of the companies already which are admitted to the Sandbox, them applying different facets of blockchain, for example. And then you have more other applicants working on tokenization and crypto projects. So what we, in our view, is that, and I think there's a view held out by other security regulators, is to look at our current regulatory framework and try to fit in, and if there is need for regulatory reviews or regulatory revisions, to see how that can actually work. So what I mean, really for us has been the key lesson is, crypto is different. Crypto comes, will change fundamentally how we view even the securities market. But then that is an opportunity for us to really align our regulatory framework to how crypto can actually be adopted in the market. So we have seen actual solution and business cases in the sandbox of crypto. And we believe that now going forward, this can be mainstreamed to other markets. And we're seeing also evidence in Nigeria, for example, with the launch of the crypto regulations. And also we're seeing what is happening in South Africa, the work undertaken by the intergroup fintech working group. So these are some of the efforts that we're seeing even within Africa, within other regulators who have different work streams, trying to realign the regulatory priorities. One, trying to realign the regulatory frameworks to actually now foster the meaningful adoption of crypto in their respective jurisdictions.
All right, thank you. Akim, good to see you. What projects have you seen that are tailored for the African market in this regard? What milestones have you seen in the last 5 years, or which projects would you say are some of the top upcoming in your view for the African markets?
Yeah, I mean, I think over the last few years, we've seen a lot of remittance applications. We're seeing a lot of exchanges beginning to just create really products that are really fit for the marketplaces, right? So you're seeing products, for example, where it's meshing fintech and crypto, like all these what I call like all-inclusive apps, so that people don't necessarily have to relearn, they just relearn how to use these applications. They just see a crypto wallet, for example, that's already attached to their payment app, right? So you're seeing a lot of fintech entities beginning to incorporate crypto and blockchain either in the background or in the foreground. So there are projects like Bundle, which is out of Nigeria, that just recently launched. You have folks that have been around like Bitcoins out of Nigeria as well. And so we're seeing more and more sophistication, right, in terms of getting crypto in the hands of people through applications they already know and use well. And I think we're going to see an acceleration of that. And hopefully, we now see on top of that, product innovation, like other financial products like loans, insurance, right? We're seeing that already happening in the West. And so my view is that over the next couple of years, we'll see the proliferation of just more sophisticated financial products into Africa as well.
All right, thank you so much. Actually, so I think Luno has released a savings product as well. And I think that, the launch of products that are very easy to use every day for millions of users are really going to bridge also the adoption gap. Because one of the things that at the end of the day, a lot of entrepreneurs need to understand is that the users may not really care about, the big picture, the vision that you guys are trying to achieve. And I mean, sometimes they care, sometimes they don't. At the end of the day, they do want something simple that is log in, buy, sell, or log in, share, and do this. It's just it's a bit of a three action loop that really makes it simple for millions of people. And in that case, then they don't have to learn so many things about cryptocurrencies. Because I think one of the mental blocks that a lot of people have is that you feel like you have to learn cryptography, where it came from, the history of this, and all these things are important, yes. But there's a threshold whereby we actually just need to make this as simple as a 1, 2, 3 kind of action in an app. And even if it's not an app, just a service or something that someone can reach to, and in the usage, then you kind of bridge the gaps of education for so many people, for so many groups of people. So another project I've actually observed is the Bangla Pesa, or as it's used in the context of Mombasa, which is in Kenya. And this, as a particular use case of community currency, is really brilliant. And the use of this particular currency actually surged 500% early this year in the time of the pandemic. And I think, well, I'd encourage, of course, our audience to learn and read more about that. Bangla Pesa, Bangla, Bangla Pesa. So just to my panelists, as we try to just wind this down, it's such a robust discussion. What milestones can regulators borrow from either what's going on in Africa or around the world in terms of just crypto regulation? What what two key pointers can you bring out in this panel? Because I've seen, for instance, in I think it's Germany or probably Switzerland, that they've completely moved away from banning cryptocurrencies to encouraging even frameworks for reporting on capital gains, and others allow it as a means of payment for taxes and things like that. So what are some of the milestones, or at least two, that you have seen either within the African context or internationally?
Thanks. I think first is, really to just to appreciate Kane's point on first. I think the discussion about milestones, in my view, is a discussion that we must address it from the viewpoint of business cases. Like, crypto has to solve some particular problems that the continent faces. So I think crypto is not really, operating in its own vacuum. There's really the operational context, the economic context, the problem context that crypto has to work in. So, for example, so if you look through, for example, if it's an issue about, I heard you talk about you mentioned about issues about infrastructure, for example. So issues about payment infrastructure, for example, do we, most countries, have been having that difficulty within the banking regulation, for example, to actually have in place, amendments to actually allow for e-money, amending the payment services regulations recognizing crypto. So that is one of the key industries. Really, even the jurisdictions that you actually mentioned, is those jurisdictions have, now if you look at some of them, is because of the low level of cash use in the economies, they are looking for alternative ways for the citizenry to interact with the formal payment system. Now, for them, they're looking at how crypto can actually now solve that case. So they have gone ahead and actually now introduced e-money rules, recognize cryptocurrency as e-money. And I think that is a very significant effort, going forward. Now, most countries, still battling with the central banks on that particular issue, on crypto adoption. But I think the demonstrable evidence that we have, even from those global case studies around Singapore, for example, the Swiss case, for example, is you still have legitimate business use cases for crypto in those countries, for payments, for example, for cross-border payments, for example, and also for remittances. And I think that's very key in that sense. So I think we remain in Africa that particular understanding, even amongst regulators, that have to balance, really development, versus their own strict mandates. They have to look at ways they can develop their own countries within their own mandates, develop those payment infrastructures, develop, for example, we have the mandate for the capital market development, and look for ways, alternative ways, new ways. And I can tell you for sure, the future is crypto. And I mean, the issue is really more about when it will happen, not that it will happen. And so countries have to better realign themselves, have the right regulatory infrastructure, realign their regulatory architecture to actually have that. So, for example, for us, we have a sandbox arrangement. Other countries, for example, Nigeria has issued out a statement on crypto. South Africa has a position paper, for example. So I think African countries are also now realigning themselves, coming to a common position in terms of now having either a bespoke statement on crypto or regulation or guidance, market guidance on crypto. And I think that will suffice. Thanks, Rosie.
Backing on the same, would you say that enough is being done to regulate crypto or at least guide the adoption of the same? Or are we, or do we have too much? Because sometimes we can have both over-regulation and under-regulation. What's your view in that?
Yeah, so I'll start with sort of what's happening in the developing world or the developed world, and I'll kind of answer that question, right? So in the United States, for example, we're already seeing, CFTC, which is one of the bank regulators, recently said that U.S. banks can actually custody digital currency, particularly stable coins, which was a really big deal, right? Because for the first time, national institutions in the United States basically now been allowed to enter and play in the space, right? And so that's a really big step. We're seeing conversations around central banks issuing their own digital currencies, with China taking the lead. The Fed president of the U.S. a couple days ago said the same thing. So I think that we're seeing regulation in the developed world beginning to kind of take hold and provide clarity, and I think the same is beginning to happen in Africa. But to the other side of your question, I think it's important that that we do not overregulate too early in Africa. I feel that because our markets are a lot more nascent, there needs to be more time.
Sorry, Atkim, we're really losing your audio. Better please come. Okay, I'll invite you to comment on the, what strides have you, or rather apart from this, from the strides, what do you feel is a call to action to regulators and policymakers on the continent in terms of the adoption of crypto for good? Because clearly it is the future, and clearly it is, it has really great opportunities for a lot of people, really, whether we want to talk about payments, alternative income, reducing the cost of inter-country transfers, and quite a number of benefits that cryptocurrencies have to offer. So what do you feel is a call for action on your part to either regulators or policymakers on the continent?
I think for Africa, for example, all regulators have to see the writing on the wall in regards to the adoption by their own respective citizenry of crypto. There are actual business cases for the adoption of crypto by players within their own jurisdictions. So you have countries where they have issues with currency, for example. So crypto adoption now in those countries serves to actually now help out their own countries actually now, and their citizens actually transact with other countries. The business cases around cross-border payments. There's a business case on remittances, for example. So these are 4 strong strands which African countries have to look at the data coming in through, ask themselves, why are the citizens, for example, holding crypto other than now holding any other asset, for example, whereas we have a whole universe of financial assets. So there is something that citizens are crying out by the use of adoption. They are talking about some current inefficiencies in the other market, in either payments, for example, or if it's around investments, or whatever the very gross inefficiencies, if it's about the ease, the cost, for example, of making payments, for example, the ease and cost of receiving money from abroad. So all this, the level of crypto adoption, for example. So we're told, like, the last month, Chainalysis released a report in September, and pitting Kenya among the top 10 countries in the world on crypto adoption. So I mean, those tens of billions of Kenya shillings which are invested in crypto, speak to a particular need which only crypto can meet. So I think it is up to all the governments, all the policymakers attending this session to actually relook at what is the evidence, and what does the evidence that we have on crypto adoption, what is it pointing to? And then ask themselves, so how can we foster meaningful, legitimate use of crypto within our regulatory context, within the jurisdictions within which we have mandate? So I think my call for action is for governments across Africa to step up on the level of crypto engagement, to speak out to the market, to stakeholders in this kind of market, to see how ways they can foster actually the meaningful adoption of crypto, while managing the attendant risks. I think innovation has to be welcomed. And at best scenario, like what we have done at the Capital Markets Authority, we're talking about tokenization of securities, is we have had, a regulatory sandbox. So have more or less regulatory approaches which can foster innovation within your respective jurisdictions. So I think that, in a view, that really suffice what regulators can do. And that's my call to action to fellow regulators and policymakers in the room.
Thank you so much. As we're coming to the close of the panel, I think I'll voice just one thing, just in building upon what you've said, that we do need to have a lot more open room and more open spaces for innovation, discussion in terms of collaboration, and really just making this an easier way for people to be able to transact value. Because at the end of the day is that cryptocurrencies are really amazing tools, and as different as they are, as optional as they are, it's that they're really speaking to a need that a lot of people have, and that's one of the ways that you actually get to listen to listen to what the people need. So my call to action is actually very simple. Whether you're a regulator or a business owner, an entrepreneur, or just a resident in any African country, I would encourage, learn what you can about cryptocurrencies in the simplest way, whether for payments or other use cases. Take your time and don't feel that this is too hard for you. I mean, it's a tool for us to use to make our sharing of value a lot easier than it is already. So thank you so much for having us on the panel and for this discussion. I will encourage you to follow us on our social media to just keep the discussion going, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and just let's keep sharing our thoughts on how we can make cryptocurrencies to be used for the better good for Africa and really just around the world, because it's our time to connect and it's our time to just use these tools for the greater good, not just for business, but really what trade and the future of value holds for us. So let's not end the discussion here, but let's keep it going on our social media platforms. And really, it's out of our discussions that the next steps of action are going to be born out of that. So thank you so much for having us. Let's keep learning.